always bugged me is that they and then drag him right out.
Yep.
Now he did stand up and say this is it,
Right.
and he takes a swing at a police officer, and then they smack the hell out of him. He's got a cut on
That's
his
the
head, and he
famous
starts.
bruise on his head.
Then that's when he starts saying, "I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did because you struck an officer.
You struck one, you're gonna get beat up.
Yeah. So they're.
It's gonna work.
Yeah. So they drag him out, and I sent you a photograph of them dragging him out.
Oh, right.
And everything like that. And you can just randomly put pictures up too, because I mean, just about everybody knows the story. But that's the basic it for the shooting to that point. Is just how quickly they all do it. They find it, But there's so many
So
other.
you're saying it was just too fast? It was just too.
No,
fast.
I'm not saying. Well, honestly, yeah. How they found him, description, everything, out to get him. Yeah, I feel like that is too fast. It was. They knew their man right away. That was just too good. I mean, they couldn't deal with anybody else. I mean, they hadn't.
Right.
What about all these other people, and other outlaws and stuff like that? I mean, shoot, Dillinger got away so many times, and that was many years before that, but still, he got away so many times. Hell, he may have even faked his own death, but that's another story. That's another story.
And there's D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper, yeah. I mean, who's he?
Sure he died by jumping on the airplane going too fast. But
Actually, no. Actually, no. But that's another topic.
Show.
That's another show.
show.
That's a different show. But
yeah, what you see above my head is when he's actually being arrested out of the I busted the book depository. I was thinking about suppository earlier. The theater.
Right.
And this is when they have. I'll show them. I'm pulling up random pictures.
Yeah, no problem.
Get this out of the way here. People can't see everything quite
No
yet.
problem. But yeah, so you can see him there in the photograph. He's being taken out of. That's when he's being taken out of the theater.
Mm-hmm.
That's right over Leo's head, and then right over Dan is actually when they've already arrested him.
Made the announcement.
They're showing him off to the public and to the TV. They've got their man.
Yeah.
That quickly.
Yep.
We're awesome. Pat ourselves on the back. Here he is. I don't know.
Them private dicks
So-
don't look too impressive, do they?
What's that?
Them private dicks don't look too impressive. How'd they find that stuff out that fast?
Cute little hats.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the whole process from time he left the depository building to being arrested?
I mean, like I told you earlier, I think it's a little bit too quick for local Dallas Police Department in 1963 to have any kind of way of having the case solved before the case was even actually, it was still cold, or wasn't cold yet, excuse me. But it's just like that was just too quick. I always thought it was interesting that they had all this wrapped up in one day, and I mean, there's more to it. Do what? Actual time?
Know the actual time?
Oh yeah. We've got the timeline and all that. I didn't bring all my documents and everything like that, but yeah, there's timelines to it all.
Yeah, I'll find out real quick here while you guys.
Yeah. But
so here's one thing I had looked up. I found
Go for it.
was one of the things I forgot. Have you ever tracked the gun?
no, you were talking about that. You mentioned it.
Rifle. Well, I did. I tracked the gun all the way from New York to Chicago to Houston to a P.O. box of one A. Hiddell.
You say Adele?
Hiddell. Hiddell.
Hiddell.
I mean, you even get C2766, which is the serial number of the rifle. In Chicago, it had a scope added to it, which kills the debate on whether he used a scope or not. I forget where it's at in here, but the actual serial number of the scope is in here as well. Paid for with basically a coupon that you could tear out of a magazine.
Right.
In the back of a magazine.
Sell it to him, send it to him.
Right.
It's like you paid $21.45 for it. It was $19 without the scope.
See,
But,
if it was $21, I'd buy it.
Shipped to A. Hidell, P.O. Box 2915, Dallas, Texas. The thing he didn't do very good was when he paid for that P.O. box as A. Hidell, he paid for it with a check as Lee Harvey Oswald. So.
And see, that alias actually comes up in the movie, too.
Does it?
Yeah, A. Hidell.
Well, that was the P.O. box that the gun was actually shipped to. It was just started out in New York, where it was shipped from Italy. It was an Italian military surplus gun.
That's right.
So I bought it with a coupon out of a magazine for $25. Had the scope put on it in Chicago halfway on his trip, and sent to his P.O. box.
Wow.
Now there was a conflicting report that I read in the Warren report, where the military apparently took the gun that was still up there that they found and said that it wasn't in any sort of condition to even make those shots. They said that the scope wasn't mounted right, that it was loose, that the bolt didn't slide right, which means the action won't work right between shots.
Right.
You might get a jam. They said that it wasn't sighted in right. Now, none of that to me makes sense because, one, if you read through this report that I found on its travels, it was a fairly new military surplus when it arrived in New York, and then in Chicago, when it had the scope added to it, it had also been gone over by the gunsmith, which means looked over, cleaned.
Right.
Made sure it was all good to go and
Right.
sent to you. That's what it means.
Before it's mailed to you and you get
when
it.
you get a gun like that, that's what it
Right.
means. And so, that contradiction was something I had found that something was fishy on.
Right.
That they had their own military experts look over the gun and say it wasn't even good enough. Plus, he was a Marine. He knew how to shoot, so he also knew how to take care of a gun, how to sight a gun in, how to keep a gun in good working order.
So why would they say it wasn't in good?
I don't know. They don't say why they say it. They just say that the one
Yeah,
that they
the military
found,
says this.
that the government's military gun experts that tested the gun Oswald used, say in the Warren report that it's not even good.
It was in poor
It's
condition.
in poor condition.
That's
But
interesting.
if
Now,
you read through this report that I found of the gun in its travels, it should have been
perfect.
in not very used,
Right.
good working order.
Did he buy it brand new?
No, military surplus is always
It's
used,
always
but
used.
it's usually a light used.
Right.
The stuff that's junk usually doesn't get shipped.
But it should have been checked, should have been in good
Yeah, it went
condition,
through
ready
a-
to go
it
for
went-
any action.
Yeah, it went through a gunsmith. It had a scope installed.
Gotcha.
It even says that he had gone to somewhere, he'd gone and shot it. See if I can find that a few days prior.
Now,
His wife had testified to that.
that he tested it?
That he went and shot it.
Yeah, he actually went and shot at a military man. I forget what his name was. Actually, went to the guy's house and tried shooting through the front window to commit his first series of shootings. So, that is, I guess, documented, and she testified on that he did it. But he failed. He missed his target.
He also bought his .38 caliber revolver, which is the one they say he shot Tippett with, and said it's sent to the same P.O. box.
Interesting.
Under A. Hidell.
Interesting.
He bought it.
What do you think, Leo?
He bought it with a mail order coupon from Seaport Traders Incorporated.
Well, I was going to go back to the timeline. You guys asked about that.
Yes.
Kind of switching gears a little bit.
Yes.
So at
We'll get back to
12:30,
this in a
Yeah,
second.
that's fine.
12:30, Kennedy is shot. At 12:32, the officer that goes into the sixth floor or into the book depository sees Oswald on the second floor. So 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes to hide the gun, wipe it down supposedly, stash it in a hidden compartment or a hidden spot up on the sixth floor, run down the stairs, runs past people going out of the building, and then the officer comes barreling in, and he's sitting on the second, or he's standing on the second floor near a vending machine.
Drinking a Coke.
Yeah, drinking a Coke.
And calm.
Nothing, no sweat, no nothing.
And the elevators were not working in the building at the time, so he had to run it.
Yep.
But
12:30.
nobody saw him.
12:33, he leaves the building. Oswald does. Arrives back to his home at 12:58. Starts to get the whole pack thing like we talked about. At 1:03, roll call is taken at the book depository. He obviously comes up, he's not there, but they decided, whatever they say about it. At 112, they find the rifle shells. At 122, they find this gun. And I'm going to say something about that. They may find 2 rifle shells at the time, supposedly. At 122, they discover the rifle. Officer Tippett, in the meantime, has been shot at 115. They catch Oswald over at the, movie theater at 158. So you have, what's that, hour and 20 minutes, 28 minutes?
Yeah.
This all went down. They already had their man in custody. Case solved.
Well, what time did they do the book? They walk through there, check the roll call?
103,
And what time did Tippett get shot?
115.
So
He got on a bus, got off, walked it, went to his boarding house, did the thing, the car came, honked, he leaves, his landlord knows this and can attest to that, and then he starts on foot walking, and then he goes into the neighborhood and gets pulled over by a cop who just happens to see him, and be like, oh, this is who we're looking for, and stops him.
Well, yeah, but they didn't. 13 minutes prior, they realized that this guy is missing, so therefore he's our prime suspect.
He's
like I said,
which makes sense. I get that, but to find him in the movie theater that quick too,
Exactly.
an hour and 28 minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Not even an hour. Yeah, an hour and 28 minutes. That just seems
Well, actually, less than that, 'cause if they did the roll call at 103.
That's true. You're right.
So you're looking less than 50 minutes.
Yeah.
55 minutes.
Yep.
He's prime suspect, and now he's going down. Wow.
This is back in.
this is what he looks like,
Maybe they did have his photograph.
Well,
It never says that they
Maybe
did.
somebody gave it to him.
He was a government.
They did give out an APB on him, but
I know they had a
Police gave it
description
APB,
of him
yeah.
already, but
that happened at. Let me see.
that was just very quickly to have a description.
Yeah, they didn't send that picture to anybody, any cops in the cars, because their computers were non-existent.
Non-existent.
So, come on now.
Yeah.
They got tablets and chisels and
Okay.
started handing them out to each other at that point. But
This is an interesting fact. At 12:45, mind you, they didn't do the roll call till 103, right?
yeah,
12:45, the police gave out their first broadcast of a suspect, description of a suspect.
yeah.
So it was before the roll call even took
Well,
place.
they knew he was even missing.
Yeah.
So they already had it.
How would they know who to
They
describe
would.
at that point?
They wouldn't. They wouldn't know.
No, they wouldn't know.
That does not make any
Somebody knew
sense.
something, though.
Sure they did.
Somebody who was helping and edge the whole, set him up and be the one.
Yeah.
That's where it comes into my play. They're already setting him up.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
already leaking information to pinpoint it on
Did he
him.
know they were setting him up?
I think he was a part of it.
He
Okay.
knew they were setting him up to some degree, didn't he?
Well, I don't think he was being set. I don't think he thought he was being set up to be the fall guy and be arrested. But he wanted to be a part of it, and I
Right.
think he was help setting it up. My personal opinion is, given the fact that, Oswald would get rides to work by his neighbor, so the morning of, the neighbor picks up Oswald and notices that Oswald has a very long
Curtain rods.
curtain rod. Well, it says it's curtain rods. It's wrapped up in paper. And the guy said, "What you got there?" And he goes, "It's curtain rods, And he drives him to work. Says, "Have a good day." He goes to work. I truly believe he takes the gun and he puts it up there, waiting for whoever is supposed to be doing the shooting. Because prior to the shooting, Oswald is sitting in the cafeteria on the second floor eating his lunch. He is seen by people eating his lunch, sandwich, and all that. Minutes later, the assassination happens. Then, what is it? Like 2 minutes later from the assassination, he's seen still in the cafeteria room drinking a Coke. Okay, there's your timeline of where's Oswald. You're saying he went up there, shot 3 times, really well. Sure, yeah, he's a Marine, he can shoot.
And
But is he
honestly,
super?
As far as the shot goes, it was downhill shot, which is always easier.
I'm not saying that it can't
And it
happen.
was straight.
But
I'm
there
not
was
saying
trees in the way too, though.
Yeah, there's
He
trees.
was above him.
Hey,
No,
you'd be surprised.
actually, looking out the windows, the trees actually did kind of block a lot of it there. They even talk about it in the movie, too.
At
Right.
the
from
The
window.
distance away from the window that he was with that rifle,
'Cause he's
with
looking out the
scope,
trees, like,
going
right here.
downhill in a straight line.
I'm not saying
those are easy shots.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying
Those
that
are
someone
easy
wasn't
shots.
there doing it. What I'm saying is he didn't have enough time or the energy or the mentality to run upstairs, do all that, run downstairs, and just be right back where he was, just drinking a Coke and
Right.
waiting for them to like come walking in and go, who are you? Police pointing a gun at him, and he's just like, and his manager's going, no, 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 he works here, he works here.
Right.
And he looks at Oswald and goes, the president's been shot, and Oswald just stands there like, what the fuck,
He just leaves a minute later calmly out the front doors.
Not to mention, Kennedy wasn't even supposed to be driving by that building. The route got changed that
Right.
morning. Got changed that morning, so somebody knew it was gonna happen. Somebody
Right.
knew on the inside knew that it was going to happen and go that direction.
Right.
You can't tell me Oswald was the one and only man
Right.
who knew that was going to happen.
And not only did that, the route get changed. The detail from the FBI or the Secret Serviceman detail got changed also too. They were told to, because normally they would ride on the side of the car,
Right.
back on the car. That way they can take, if something were to happen, they would jump, obviously in harm's way, protect
Or
their
possibly take the
their
hit
victims,
themselves.
or their people they're watching for. They were told to not only not stand on the car, but to fall back, kind of a thing. So, and that came from the guy that protects Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
He's the one that gave up the information. His name is Clint White, I think is his name.
Yeah.
He's the one that says, this is unusual. My first thing in order is, at any cost, I'm assigned to Jackie Kennedy. I'm supposed to protect her at all costs. That's the guy that jumps on the back of the car you see in the infamous video of them driving away, because he's trying to make sure, and they're going down the highway at 70 miles an hour, and he's on the back of the car hanging on.
He
So,
actually ended up being Secret Service for 5 or 7 presidents. I was watching
Might have
back
been.
he's
around
been around for quite a while.
like all the
Now,
way up to Reagan, I think.
But the fascinating thing about him, he says there was only one shooter.
Right.
Because he says, I know, I've been on this forever,
I know what happened. I was there.
I heard it from behind. It was one shooter
Yeah.
coming from behind me.
Right.
So, there's that.
There's that.
But also, why was the detail changed? They also had Kennedy set up higher than normal.
Yeah.
In the limousine,
The
it's...
two of them closer and
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
The back seat was customized.
Yep.
Was
He
in the building
He
was
quotes that he
customized.
says they would never have that. He never would have signed off on that. That if anything, they would have had to put him in some kind of protective window.
And
Well, that was the last
They
time
didn't
American presidents ever rode in a convertible.
Right.
And they never put the bubble over it either.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Normally
Yeah.
they would have
had that
bubble.
over there,
Right.
but all these
Um,
little fine details.
Well, I was on the documentary I was watching with that guy. He was saying that they were together that morning and that they were outside and talking about what a nice day it was, and they were glad that they weren't going to do that. They weren't going to have the bubble. They weren't
Sure.
going to have that because it was such a nice day, and everybody around seemed like they were in a good mood, and it was going to be a great day.
Well,
and,
it would have been a great time for everybody to see him.
Right.
He was able to reach out to people and
Right.
stuff like that. I mean, he liked doing that. Everybody wanted to be, a part of that moment that day.
right,
I mean, he had thousands of people out there waving to him.
right.
But in some of the video scenes that I've seen of that, some of the Secret Service jumping off the cars and kind of looking around and like,
Right.
because they're being told back off,
Right.
and they're like waving their hands in the air like, okay, what are we doing here? As it's going down the street and everything, they're backing off, being told to, and then none of the windows were checked in the buildings. No. Secret Service, even today, they would go through and make sure every window is closed.
Yep, that's protocol.
And nobody is hanging out the windows and doing stuff.
Yep.
There's people hanging out the windows. There, even at the jail. The jailhouse even saw somebody hanging out of the book depository building. People could see a gun
Mhm.
sticking out of the window. I mean, somebody was in the window. Couldn't tell who the person was, but there was somebody there that had something sticking out of the
Right.
window.
Right.
So,
'Cause
somebody was
the
up
other
there.
deal that says the guy in the window had like a cloth over him.
And that, see, they
Like,
never
put a
found
cloth
anything
or
like
like
that.
a burlap bag over him, or maybe it was the cloth that he had the gun or the curtain rods wrapped up in
Could have,
that he
could
put
have.
over.
Could have.
That's a shooting trick. It keeps all the ambient light off of you, so the only thing you see is through your scope and concentrate.
But
on
would
it
he?
that way.
So somebody would get up there in a matter of just how long do you think? Like
For what? Which part?
from when he's seen eating lunch to the shooting, that he would have ran up the stairs all the way up. He's on the second floor, so he runs up to the 6th. Gets over there, gets ready to go, knowing that, here's my turn.
Right.
I'm up because he's coming my way. To do that, cover himself, get ready and prepared, shoot and get him just right, put it all down, run downstairs, in a matter of 2 minutes, be done drinking a Coke. It's like...
Yeah, it's just a matter of minutes.
There's
also a conspiracy or a report that there was more than one shots fired. The building over next to it, too. So yes, there's still shots being fired from behind. But the building is on the 3rd or 4th floor instead, and the building next to it.
Right.
Which we'll play some stuff here in a little bit about that also.
Now I went out there, and the last time I was there is like 4 years ago. Yeah. 5 years ago. There was a guy out there that was, selling magazines and stuff.
He's always there.
Memorabilia stuff.
Yeah.
But he stopped me because I was asking questions too, and he goes, let me pinpoint something to you that a lot of people don't talk about. He says shortly after the killing, he says, what do you remember from that day? And I'm like, I don't.
Nothing.
I was not alive.
Not a thing.
But you were. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. Holy crap!
Hey, welcome back, man. We
I had to
missed
get
you.
him. I had to get him. No, but
Wow.
Hey, I have to go real quick.
Okay.
I was eating dinner the other night.
Yes.
And I was asked if I needed the senior discount or an adult. Yeah.
I say both.
You're like senior.
Oh,
Senior.
Sorry.
Which one's more?
So the guy was talking to, and I said, well, I don't remember. I said, I'm looking at the buildings and stuff, and I'm trying to understand what he's getting at.
Right.
And I said, well, in '63, I said, above, on top of the book depository building, there was a bunch of signs.
Right.
A bunch of, like, billboards and everything.
That's how they do it, yeah.
Which, he goes, right. He goes, and over there on that building, too. Just right across. I said, yeah, I think I have seen a photograph of that. There's a bunch of billboards. He said, isn't it funny how just a few days after that, Lyndon Johnson ordered those to be removed?
Yep.
He goes, if you ask me, that's prime area to have somebody else who's a good sniper shot to be in one of those two spots.
See, and that's one thing I've been hearing about, that Lyndon Johnson, we talked about it on the episode 27 that we mentioned, that Lyndon Johnson, the one that was involved also too. The picture I have up real quick here too is Clint Hill on the back of the car jumping on, we talked about earlier. But also the second and third floor, the circles where supposedly shots had been rang out next to the book depository across the street.
Yeah, I've seen that building too.
Yeah, that's right. It's directly right next to it. I mean, in front.
Right.
On one side of the street, the other one. That's supposedly where they had seen and heard and smelled smoke coming from too.
Right.
So, which would be even just as easier versus the 6th floor. You can't see in frame right there.
But, I mean, who's to say the first shot that gets him didn't come from that building?
Because there's also talk that there's somebody obviously the grassy knoll, but somebody close to the overpass.
Yeah.
That this is basically what they call it, a turkey shoot, or they called it, where it's just sitting one target in front of everybody.
The picket fence, I mean, there's the story of the person who's standing over there, and the guy in the watchtower of the train station.
Right.
Yeah, the second supervisor pointing to the picket fence.
Right.
For Jim Garrison.
Right.
I was actually just reading that as you brought it up. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's very cool. But yeah, so they, the guy in the tower, said that he looked over because he saw a commotion over by the white picket fence, and could see what looked like smoke or something over there. Like a shot or something. He didn't know what was going on. He just saw smoke and 2 or 3 guys rushing away from the picket fence, jumping in cars and driving off very quickly. Yeah. And now when that guy went to go testify, well, he later dies in a mysterious car accident.
Well, his name was S.M. Holland, and he says in a quote, I made it very clear to the Warren people that some of the shots came from behind that picket fence. I heard the report and saw the smoke. come out from about 6 to 8 feet above the ground, right from behind those trees. There is no doubt whatsoever in my mind.
See,
And then he died not long after
Right.
making that statement to the
He
Warren
is-
Commission.
he is one of many eyewitnesses who had a mysterious death
Right.
after talking to the Warren Commission.
Oh, there's quite a few people.
Yeah,
I
I
know
actually
on
have a
the
list of
yeah.
them. Yeah. Next podcast, I'll bring it to you. I'll bring it all to you. Because last time we did this a couple years ago, we had them all posted up everywhere around us and everything like that.
What
But-
I'm going to bring up here next is the Dallas
Okay.
building. This is the one, the third floor, whatever, that has, they found not only, what it's pointing to is they found some blinds that were cut